Well, folks, just been down to Westfield, in fact, yesterday, to see the UK spec Fisker Ocean. They have an Extreme in there on right-hand drive. And you know what? First impressions, you walk in there and you go, wow, that Henrik Fisker, he pens a really nice car. Of that, there is no doubt. However, I got my final invoice for a car that's due to be picked up in the next 8 days. Mariana with sea salt ticked a few boxes, including retractable tow bar, because for those of you who follow the channel, I do a little racing on the side. I need to tow, occasionally tow, my kind of race outfit. I can't do it. I just can't do it. And this video is all about the reasons why I am not progressing with my purchase of one of less than 200 limited edition Fisker Ocean 1s in the UK. Future Ed here. Since I filmed this little segment, there have been new developments which I'll get to. But watch this, and then at the end, I'll fill in the recent changes. It saddens me. It really saddens me. I was hoping to make a whole series of videos and content, but more essentially, it's a family car. It's there to replace, or was hoping to replace, a combination of an elderly Range Rover L322, a diesel, a non-ULEZ car, and ULEZ is the ultra-low emission zone, in various cities around the UK. If it doesn't meet those requirements, then you've got to pay an additional charge. It is to replace an aging Mazda 6 Touring, which has been our daily car, my wife's daily driver, for the last, I suppose, 6 years maybe. And whilst it's still performing well, it still does great mileage to the gallon. I'm now in a position where, you know what we could do with a refresh, some new technology, an update to what we've currently got, something fast, smooth, practical, good looking, and at a reasonably sensible price, given the cost of electric cars today. I've jotted down a few ideas. I went down to Westfield, down to the UK Fisker outlet, and I have to say, Leo was exceptional in his knowledge. I gave him a bit of a hard time. I was asking probing questions, but you know what? In true fashion, he said, you know what? I'm not quite sure on 1 or 2 points. I'm going to check, and he did. So that was fantastic, great knowledge. They're only just starting with their test drives on Monday, which is tomorrow, in fact. So best of luck with that, guys. I also have reservations for the Fisker Pear. I have a reservation for the Fisker Alaska as well. So don't get me wrong, I am, you know what, I'm fully immersed in Fisker. I'm also a shareholder. I have a significant portion of my portfolio invested in the EV market and in Fisker. Why am I making this video? Why am I telling you that the Fisker Ocean 1 is not the car from us? So a little background. I'm an airline pilot. I parked my car up for several days on end at in the car park at work. I have access to a top floor of a multi-rise building, and that's where I could park a solar-powered vehicle, come back to it, and you know what? Add a little charge. That was the plan. My wife can use it. We can exchange cars. I can pick hers up. She can pick mine up. That was the plan. I've clarified a few things, and I'm just going to go through a little random list of stuff as to, you know, what was the deal breaker. I'll get to the big one at the very end. That's kind of sealed the deal for us, and that's it. Now, first and foremost is it's a beautiful looking car. bit more plastic, I suppose, but then that fits in with the kind of eco credentials that the car is trying to give you. It's a car that Henrik Fisker sees as being the most sustainable of vehicles on the planet. Ethically sourced, vegan interior, and you know what? They can trace their supply chain all the way back, and that is commendable, I have to say. And that's another reason why I was actually interested in getting involved in an EV. And I'm not going to get into the arguments about the CO2 required to manufacture and all the rest of it. Go and have a look at kind of fully charged and the thing that Bobby Lou has been doing there, Robert Llewellyn has been doing over there, dispelling the myths about electric ownership and crossovers between ICEs. You know what? It's all about clean air in cities, and ultimately electric cars do that, irrespective of where the electric is sourced. So let's not go down that route. The quality, the build quality is undeniable on this car. The fit and finish, the paint, the shut lines, everything else. However, I've said it before in some of my videos, and I'll say it again. If I was buying the sport model, paying £38,000 for it, then yeah, you know what? I can live with the quality of fit and finish, lack of extra coatings on some of the plastics to make them easier to recycle. However, the Fisker Ocean One is 62.5 grand in my specification. It just does not have the wow factor. You jump into a 60 grand BMW, Mercedes, Audi, even the GV60s, and you get that feeling. Whilst ultimately the seats are comfortable, my wife's a short arse, even shorter than me, and she struggled to get into it. That's why we got side steps on a Range Rover. She can step her little ladder into the car. Now she struggled the one motion trying to get into the car. So that was the first thing. Secondly, you talk about vegan leather. It's basically just plastic covered cloth. It's PVC. It's the good old fashioned. And one of the drawbacks of that is just not as durable as leather. Now, okay, tree huggers and all the rest of it are going to, get really upset here, but leather's been used in cars because of its durability and its ability to take punishment, regular beatings, with scrapes and all the rest of it, and it can be repaired. Now, you could argue that PVC or vegan leather can be repaired. It wraps around the back of the seats. I've got 4 dogs. And with the absence of any kind of doggy cage or ability to keep them away from the rear of the seats with their paws, I'm really worried about the ability that their little claws are going to have to damage all of that at the rear. A dog guard isn't even an option at the minute, despite a vehicle that has it's been touted having doggy windows as one of its great features. Those doggy windows cannot be lowered independently. They come down as a function of California mode, which is all windows down. What's the point in doggy windows if you can't lower them for your dogs? It's not every day that we can open the California mode and then shut all the other windows independently to leave the doggy windows open, and that's the workaround at the minute. Talk about gimmicks. Let's talk about gimmicks. Henrik wants to provide each one of his vehicles with 4 unique features. Now, he's got taco trays on this, he's got Hollywood mode, he's got California mode, he's got the solar roof. So, you know what? All great. Looks great on paper. You immediately think, wow, solar roof. I can go and park my car out in the sunshine, and when I get back to it, I've got free mileage. And in fact, if I don't drive the car for a few days, I might be able to add 4, 5, 6 miles of extra range per day whilst the car's not being used. Now, it might be an oversight. It might be alluded to that you get to 1,500 to 2,000 miles a year extra mileage, but there are now rumours afoot, and I've asked Fisker to clarify, so stand by for future videos. I've asked them to clarify whether the solar roof actually charges the car whilst it's being parked and is switched off. The big rumour is that it doesn't, and it only charges and is used as a range extender. We've got Hollywood mode, only active. Screen turns to 16:9 as opposed to portrait when you're parked up. Okay, that's fantastic. We can watch Netflix, you can watch YouTube and all the rest of it. Now, there have been some instances where that mechanism has kind of failed. When it's one way or t'other, it starts to interfere with your leg room. And even when the screen's in portrait mode, it's so big it starts to interfere with some people's knees just in their seating position. I'm not sure that I'm tall enough that that's going to be an issue, nor did I get a chance to try it. Immediately when I walked around the back of the car, we went to Fully Charged Live. They had the Fisker Ocean for the first time on view in the UK, and we didn't get a chance to have a look in the boot/trunk. The car was absolutely dead. Someone had closed the boot or the trunk lid, and they couldn't get it open again. Let's talk about the bugs that are there. Now, they are being ironed out, there is no doubt, and you could argue that I'm being a leading light, and I shouldn't expect everything to be working on a car. No, Henrik said that he was over the moon, the fact that he had brought a car from concept to production 2.5 years. There's a reason why cars take 4 years to effectively go through that whole design process through to production, because they're testing. A lot of these things are coming to light, including 12-volt batteries that are dying, the key fobs which are dying, people not being able to get into the car and be stranded. Now, the last thing I need is for my wife to finish work after midnight in London, go to a car park and the car not letting her in. I'm most likely going to be away. I'm doing my long-haul conversion in the next few weeks, in fact, and I could be away in anywhere from, Tokyo to Sao Paulo. So the last thing I need is a call from Mrs. Ed to say that, you know what, I'm locked out of the car. What do I do? Now, she's not a technophobe as such, but at the end of it all, she really doesn't need that hassle, nor do I in the early hours of the morning. So some have reported the simple fact that the only contact they have is through an iPhone app or Facebook Messenger. There are no phone numbers, it's all done through an app. Who's going to answer an app at midnight? I don't know. And to what end? They can't magically fix the car if it's dead. They've also had issues with vents, a minor thing, I'll agree. And they've had problems with the weight on seat pads, so the car won't go into kind of park and reverse and cannot be driven. That's another matter. And they have said that if your car suffers from this, they can replace that particular seat pad. Have you ever tried doing that in a seat? I tried to do that already in a BMW 840. And you know what? I gave up on the fact because I did not want to remove that seat cover. All the, what they call hog rings or whatever way they do it these days, to be removed, and they're never quite the same again. Getting onto seats, minimal adjustment, no lumbar. However, they're some sort of memory foam things that probably formed with the heat of your body, and they're heated, but they're not cooled or massaged. And okay, massage is a little extra, but they are appearing on other cars, especially the likes of the Neos. Well, it's not in the UK now. In another 18 months, 2 years, they will be. One on my radar is actually the ET5 Touring. If you haven't seen that, battery swapped, ET5 Touring. Plenty of room, plenty quick, and a monster charger as well. So I think Kyle at Out of Spec Reviews did a little bit on that on the ET5. So have a look at that. He's been back and forward to Germany, having a drive in those. So apologies for the sun behind, it's just the way the field has gone. And this is turning out to be a bit of a longer video than I was expecting. First thing I noticed when I walked to the back of the car is the fact there's a Euro spec plug in a UK market. Now, I don't know, for those of you in the States, you've got your continental US kind of plugs. in Europe, we've got kind of two standards. One is a UK standard, which is 3-pin, and the other one is a European standard, which is 2 pins. Never the twain shall meet. You've got to buy an adapter and plug it in. Well, it's not a deal breaker. It just goes to show that why did you not put a 3-pin UK spec plug in a UK spec car? Why do it as a Euro spec 2-pin? So now I need to go and plug a little adapter in and then plug the 240 volt supply. Right next to that is the only 12 volt supply in the car. I was thinking of running a dash cam because there is no Sentry mode in this car, nor any plans to introduce it. There is no pet mode, except on a car that's been touted as having doggy windows and pet friendly, and there's photographs and all the rest of it. So there's no pet mode. I can't open the doggy windows independently. There is no boot liner option. They're not selling a boot liner, and they're not selling a kind of a guard to stop the dogs getting in front and back. Now, if you don't have dogs, it's not an issue, but you know what? For a load lugger like this, you'll really miss that for now. Don't want the car to get trashed by the time. It's got this little paint bit at the back of the where the lip of the kind of the trunk bed kind of rolls over the bumper. It's painted. I did ask whether there's a PPF strip. I've got that on the Mazda 6 to prevent damage to the paint, and I was told there wasn't. So out the bag, it doesn't suit those purposes. You open the trunk and you go, is that it? Is there more storage space in the frunk? And of course, there's no frunk in this. You immediately go to the Tesla Model Y, you open the trunk and you go, wow, look at that. And there's more space below, and there's more space in the front. And it's loaded with options for storage. There is a little bit below the floor of the Fisker, but nothing in the front. They have obviously sacrificed to give it the most legroom in its class. Okay, ticks another box, well done, but at what expense? At the expense of actually some load area. Now, if the rear seats had been, they electrically recline, but surely they would have been of better use sliding forward and having that variable space that you get in certain cars to extend the load area as and when you wish, or retract that back and extend the legroom to the rear passengers. That would have been an absolute coup for usability for this car. Another deal breaker for me was the simple fact, and maybe sheer arrogance to boot, to not introduce Apple CarPlay and Android Auto into this car. I've had Apple CarPlay in my cars for years and years and years, and we know the software here is capable of it. So why would the decision rest with the chief executive whether to introduce CarPlay or not? Now, he said that the user interface is so good that we won't need anything else. That may be true, but I'm the customer, and I want to decide whether I'm going to use that UI or whether I'm going to use the more familiar and eminently better solution of using apps that have been out there for years, a better route planner, a Waze app, Google Maps. The navigation system in the Fisker Ocean is a TomTom system. Now, TomTom, eminently good at what they do. However, I've got their TomTom system with TomTom Live in my Mazda 6, which is a 2014. It's nearly 10 years old now. Am I being reduced down to using that system? It was 10 years ago, and I can tell you that the TomTom Live data is nowhere near as good as any of the third-party apps from Google and Waze, etc., etc. It was touted as having Alexa for a lot of control. It's not active. We were told it was going to have torque vectoring and ADAS and driver ability. The only thing that's currently active on the car is ABS. It's got speed hold function of the cruise control, no adaptive cruise, and it may have an element of front end collision mitigation, as they call it. No side mitigation yet. And these things all take time to prove, especially with self-driving and lane keep assist. So it's all promises, promises. It's jam tomorrow, as they say. Trust us, we're working on it. We're thinking about it. That is scheduled for the future. These are phrases that have been passed to me, but you know what? I want jam today. They say the ADAS will be active in Q4 of 2023. Well, we're into October, folks. We're into Q4 2023, and I haven't heard anything about it. So let's wait and see. Maybe it's a bit like Henrik insisting that kind of solid-state batteries were on the way for cars. That was back in 2020. And then they kind of abandoned that idea. I have to say, I take what is being said with great intention, but with a huge pinch of salt. And then we get to the pricing. We get to pricing. The Tesla Model Y long range is 52 grand, folks. Starting off, you add paint and wheels and all the rest of it, and you're getting up to sort of £58,000 in the UK, including a tow bar. They've just launched a 2.8% interest for their UK line. The Fisker rate of interest here is 9.9%. So you go compare that one, see what it makes a difference. It works out with 10 grand deposit, it's about £1,000 a month for a Fisker. And with 10 grand deposits, it's £575 for the same sort of deal. So, you know what? It doesn't make sense. It's a little over half the price to go Tesla Model Y. Now, that doesn't mean to say I'm going to go and jump into Model Y. I just won't. I've got an Ioniq 6 coming in the next couple of months, so I will go electric eventually, and I'll go and test that. But the biggest issue I have is not price, it's not features, it won't be how the car drives. I'm going back down again on next Monday to have a drive in the car, and we'll make our final decision then. So I won't publish this until after that drive is complete. But irrespective of how the car drives, irrespective of what promises are being made, irrespective of the lack of rear storage space, irrespective of everything else, it all boils down to trust. Do I trust Fisker as a company in this incarnation to be here in a few years' time to actually address issues that I may have with the car? Do I trust that they will be solvent going forward? Do I trust that the same thing won't happen for the third time in the ventures that Fisker has done in the past? Have I bought a brick? What's going to happen as and when there are recalls, if there are going to be? How do I get it serviced? All of these questions, you could argue, come from a new start, a new car, but ultimately it's a gut feeling that you get in the pit of your stomach when asked to, step up to the plate and spend a reasonable amount of cash for a brand new car. No matter what it looks like, no matter what it drives like, the ownership experience goes beyond that. And you've got to consider everything. So, deal breakers for me: price, no CarPlay, and rear space, rear trunk space. I can't pull the trigger. There are other cars coming out down the line that will be cheaper, will have just as big a range, will be just as practical. Well, do you remember I said I was worried about future values? Well, it just seems to be that old Henrik here, Mr. Fisker, he's shafted all the Fisker Ocean One owners. $7,500 or nearly $3,000 reduction here in the UK. And there was a bit of damage limitation came out after that, because all the Ocean One owners said, well, you know what? Why the hell did I become an early adopter with all the crap and the updates? Anyway, this is what they've basically said, that in order to pacify the Fisker Ocean One current owners, early adopters of the brand, it's complimentary upgrades to your vehicle's infotainment system, including the next generation ICC chip. If that isn't an admission that the current chip in the car is shite, then I don't know what is. So that's talking about the free upgrade. Imagine that, free upgrade to your crap, your chip and your laggy infotainment, etc., etc. I suspect then, reading through that, that's maybe why that the kind of Apple CarPlay, Android Auto isn't actually being implemented early on. It might just make the whole bloody lot come to a grinding halt and effectively unusable. You can wrap it up whatever way you like. Fisker, it's quite obvious here. A free complimentary upgrade. Does that mean to say everybody else has got to pay for it in the Ocean Extreme and Sport and everything going forward? Or maybe they will include that. So there'll be a little batch of maybe Ocean Extremes with the old chip until they start putting it into the cars at production. That may well be next year, but for everyone getting an Ocean Extreme right now, if you want to update it a la kind of Tesla, then you're going to have to probably pay for that. They've kind of pacified everyone, saying over-the-air updates for the entire lifespan of your vehicle. I thought that would be absolutely standard to have over-the-air updates for your car for the lifetime of the car. Anyway, lifetime access to premium wireless connectivity, a 10-year hotspot, early access to the latest technology, features and enhancements. Well, yeah, who cares? Just means you're going to be a guinea pig. They're just going to be rolled out to the Fisker Ocean One. First of all, more guinea pigness. Extended warranty for the first 7 years or 72,000 miles. Not really sure what that means. Is it an increase? Is it not? I don't know. I don't think. Then you've got a 4-year, 48,000 mile service package. There's probably not going to be an awful lot to be done to your Ocean in the first 4 years anyway, so I don't really rate that. Your free first replacement of all 4 original breech-load tyres. Now, 22-inch rims, the tyres. I did ask about cost of replacement when I went down to Fisker here in the UK. He couldn't give me an idea of what it would actually cost me to replace all 4 tyres. They look bloody expensive, so you know what, maybe that is a good thing. And finally, a $1,000 charge point gift card, and that's just the beginning. So $1,000, about 800 quid here in the UK. Don't know whether that's it, but you know what? Another reason this free charging nonsense for the first year here in the UK. There are 2 chargers within 50 miles of me. So this whole free charging works in Europe perhaps because the provider that they have got a few more stations and stuff like that. So you know what? All of this just solidifies the fact that the car wasn't ready. It's got a slow infotainment. The value is going to now depreciate automatically by the same amount, because bear in mind that the Extreme is actually the same trim as an Ocean One. The only difference is a couple of badges, one on the back, one on the steering wheel, and a little number that comes up on the screen. I'm not sure that paying for the solar roof and all the rest of it is really worth it. They have upped the prices slightly on the Sport and the Ultra in order to maybe compensate for this. However, in the US, that $7,500 represents about 11% reduction in pricing. Now, I know right now Fisker are kind of, they were touting about 12% margin. So they've effectively chopped their own profit margin from underneath. Now, whether you think the company is going to last long enough to see you out on that, the new 7-year warranty is entirely up to you. I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. The Fisker lovers out there, the communication from Fisker has been absolutely woeful over the whole thing. And their marketing. I suppose when you employ maybe your daughter as head of marketing for your company, maybe that's what happens. So big sigh of relief here, that the fact that we're not actually going to get the Fisker Ocean. I'm still excited about the pair. I'm less excited about my stock value. It's tanking, but then it's the market at the minute. It's really heading back towards all-time lows of $4.50 a share or thereabouts, albeit around about $5 here at the minute. So I've got to reconsider my investment. Is it going to get worse before it gets better? Maybe I'll stick there for initially, but I'm going to watch this stock very, very closely. Now, you've got to separate the company to the actual product as well. You know what? Maybe I'm just not a future adopter. You know what? 60 grand buys an awful lot of car, used car. You got world's your oyster here. World's your oyster. And maybe it's just not for me. That's it from a rainy UK. And I've deleted all my other Fisker videos, so why should I promote a company that I no longer have faith in? So I mean, that's essentially it. So that's it from the Fisker. For now, maybe the pair down the line, and I've got a reservation for the Alaska. That was maybe on a whim, but we'll see what happens there. In the UK, it seems we can cancel orders and get all your money back for about 25 quid or 20 quid or something like that. So I'll stick in it for now. So don't believe Henry when he says he's got so many reservations. Turning those reservations actually into physical cars and orders, it's another thing completely. So you know what, if you're like me and just want a car to drive without all the niggles and the warnings and the future promises, then maybe Fisker is not for you. Feel free to leave the comments, positive and negative. For all of you with the car sitting in the driveway, I wish you all the very best. You've got bigger balls than I have. And maybe that's the way I like it. My job is safety related. It's about weighing up the benefits and the risks in any decision and actually doing a review and then realizing that maybe your initial decision wasn't the right one. And I'm quite happy to make a decision and change my initial goal based on that. Well, for now, that's it from the UK. All the best now. Bye-bye.